So this is a little bit of an awkward question, but some might say it's my specialty. What would you say is?
I have no idea where you're going with this.
It'll be interesting though.
Okay.
All right. What would you say? You recruited, you evaluated, recruited, and assembled this team, right?
21 of them. 21 teams.
Okay, including this one.
Yeah, you would think so.
Okay, so I guess
Alex didn't.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, obviously the season hasn't gone the way you wanted. What would you say is kind of your level of responsibility for that?
100%.
100%.
100%.
Okay.
Who else would it be?
The players?
Yeah, I mean, but, they're doing the best they can do. They've done the best they can do. It's just reality. We got stuck in a rebuilding year. We tried to overcome it with our recruiting, and it's the way it is.
Do you still think your evaluations of these freshmen hold up? Or are they the
What do you
players?
mean?
Like, obviously you had opinions of them when you recruited them. Now that you've had them for a year.
You know what they say about opinions, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, look, it's just tough. I mean, it's there's very few freshmen that can get the grass cut. What I mean by that is there's a lot of freshmen that can get drafted. There's very few that can get the grass cut while they're in their freshman year. Doesn't mean they're not a great prospect. Did Kobe Bryant get the grass cut as a rookie in the NBA? No. So it's not an indictment on anybody. I mean, it's just you're talking to a guy that's I've redshirted two guys that played in the NBA, and I didn't redshirt them because I wanted to. At Cincinnati, I redshirted them because I didn't want them to transfer and get frustrated when they didn't get in the game. They were not going to get in the game, and they ended up playing in the NBA. So it's just it takes time. What I've learned, Ben, is in life, and especially in my job, we all want your kids to grow up faster than they do. It's just that's just where it's at. But back to your original question, yeah, everything's. I'm responsible for everything.
Who were the two players that you redshirted?
Trey Scott and Sean Kilpatrick, who scored over 2,000 points. Two of the best people that have ever played at Cincinnati, two of the best players. They both, Trey played a little, they both, Sean's about to retire. Trey's still playing. And that's why I redshirted them. I didn't want them to transfer when they never got in. And I told them that. And I told them someday they were going to be great players. So it just takes time sometimes.
And you're known as a developmental coach, so with that in mind, would you like to see as much of this roster stay together?
Yeah. Yeah. Now times have changed, so we'll see how that all goes. So
yeah.
There's a lot of things that I personally would like to see. Like maybe there's some terrible things going on in the world, but 1 in 3 African children are malnourished, but nobody ever talks about that. So there's a lot of things I would like to see. There's a lot of reasons they don't happen. So I'd like to see a lot of stuff, man. We could have probably an interesting lunch and realize that I don't just watch film.
Mick, when it comes to evaluating, compare evaluating internationally high school recruits and transfers?
Well, it's hard to. You're talking about all three?
All three.
Transfers would be the easiest one. It's just be like buying businesses, right? In acquisitions, you have a balance sheet. The business is what it is. You can assess if it's successful and why. Maybe if it's struggling and why. Needs a change in management. Player needs a change of scenery. Because you have a balance sheet. You have sales. You have. I mean, it is what it is. So you've seen transfers, and you've seen them play college basketball. So that would be by far the easiest one. Then the other ones, it's easier to see high school guys in America more, which it's just logistics. where the international guys. But guys, I don't regret. Look, I've seen I don't have any regrets in the recruiting. I've been doing this a long time. When it comes to recruiting, some players take longer than others, and nobody bats 1,000. Because I'll finish it. I can tell you so many stories, Tracy, and you know this because you've seen it, right? Of where you thought this guy was going to be your great recruit, and he wasn't. And this guy, who was easy, you saw him once and you asked him to come, and he ends up playing in the NBA. Meanwhile, you spent 2 years chasing some guy that never helped you win, and you saw, all you had to do was ask Jalen Clark, "Do you want to come?" And he said yes. So it was, there was no easier recruitment, and and he had unbelievable 3 years here. Recruiting's crazy, as you know.
You recruited Mac for his shooting ability, and then he came.
Sebastian?
Yeah, Sebastian.
Oh, sorry.
And then no worries. And then he said he was coming here to play defense and win. How has he embraced your philosophy?
He tries. Again, he's had to play more minutes than he was ready for. And in defense of Sebastian Mack, he has played from about the halfway point. I'd have to ask Tyler. It's late now, with a bad big toe injury. You can watch it if you watch this closely. You can see it. So his explosiveness has definitely been affected. But he's fought through it for his team and showed a lot of toughness in doing so. It's not an easy thing. But he's had to play more, again, and do things that he's not ready for. And what I mean by that, it's not anything against him. In coaching, you're in trouble when you're asking players to do stuff that they're not ready to do, that you haven't trained them to do, that they don't have the experience to do. They don't have the tool set to get that kind of job done yet because of the situation where we have played so many young guys. And I'll take you back all the way back to the guys that are here all the time. One of the problems, I would say, if you were to say, well, what's the biggest problem that we've had, our bench isn't good enough because I told you the effects that we're going to have. That freshmen can only handle so many minutes, and after a certain minute level for a player that's young, it's going to be diminishing returns. And our bench hasn't been up to snuff, not for lack of effort. And so you have to have when you have young guys on the floor too long, they're going to foul. That's been an issue for us. Your defense breaks down. Your shooting percentage drops. And so, like, in a nutshell, if you were to say what's been the biggest issue, that would be it. I mean, that's how we could have, like, if you're playing, like, young guys can only handle so much. Now, that's not in a vacuum. There's exceptions to all that.
So are you saying that the guys on the bench aren't capable of doing what you need them to do to get more minutes? Is that basically
what I'm saying is our bench hasn't been up to snuff.
Yeah.
Exactly what I said.
Coach, other than playing these last 2 home games, what do you want your team to be able to accomplish?
Same thing as always. Come in here every day with a great attitude and great effort, regardless of result.
For Brandon Williams, at one point in the season, you said he's been a bright spot for you all.
Oh, absolutely.
In what ways? And
He's a rare freshman that physically is tough enough to play at this level. And if you were to get the international guys in here, what they would tell you is they're in shock of the physicality of college basketball. And I'm not indicting anybody. That's college basketball. Our line's closer. The way our game is played is unbelievably physical. And Brandon's, although he's the youngest guy on our team and the 5th youngest in college basketball or something like that, he's extremely tough.
So for Sebastian and Brandon, what were the deciding factors in making them freshman starters?
Trying to get your best lineup on the floor. It's definitely not because of their looks.
Last week you mentioned...
But it's hard to live up to what your head coach looks like.
Excuse me. Last week you mentioned, you remember, and I remember too, when Kemba went on that run and got going in the tournament. I mean, you still got opportunity here.
Hell yeah.
You feel like you got somebody on this team that can kind of kind of step up and rise to the occasion? I mean, recently.
Hey, look, Dylan
you've
had a great road
You've
trip.
had the big three, yeah.
Dylan had a great road trip.
Mhm.
You know, I would say, sure, you know, I still agree with what you're saying. You know, he had a great road trip. But for us, our defense and rebounding have to be really, really good, because we can't overwhelm you on the offensive end. This group, we're too young to do that. So for us, the backboard defensively has become a problem in the last few weeks. And that breaks your back defensively. It just destroys your defensive effort. And that's what happened. That's kind of what's happened to us.
How has Arizona changed since the first time you saw them? How have they developed, would you say?
I don't see much difference. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. I mean, if you give me maybe an area to think about, but
I mean, their guard play has changed a little, I'd say. In watching them, it seems like there's some guys getting more time or more emphasis on the ball than previously.
yeah, I don't know. I think those guys have all played all year. You know, because they play small when they go to the bench. They have a bunch of big guys on the bench. They don't play. They bring all guards in and they just play a four guard lineup to get. But they've done that all year. At some point in the year, they made that move pre-conference though. So when we played them, they did the same thing. And they've even gone to with Johnson at the 5. So when they go to the bench, they go small. Other than Krivas for Ballo. So I don't think there's a whole lot of difference with that. I mean, guys get hot and cold, but I mean, Love's a player of the year in the Pac-12. I mean,
How does your scout change for that? Does it change when you played them a second time, or is it just re-emphasizing?
well, that would be any team.
Yeah.
No, you're always looking for things you know. Look, there's stuff that coaches are going to talk about, but with the players, no, not when you play them. You know, they're plus 11 on the glass. That's a big concern. It's a huge concern of ours. That's what got us beat down there. Now Brandon didn't play. He couldn't breathe. There was a lot of concern going on that you knew nothing about during the game because he couldn't breathe. So we had to play we had to play 4 guards, and we're not big. Our guards aren't big enough to be that. Will's not big enough to be that. So that killed us because Burke had massive foul trouble. So that killed us on the glass. That and they just rebound the hell out of the ball. You know, Ballow's huge. Johnson's they got a 4th-year center, a 5th-year power forward, and a great freshman guard rebounder. Lewis he's a great athletic wing, attacking, rebounding guy. And obviously Larson. He does everything.
Brandon Williams, is he had the respiratory thing, had the cramps, is he back to full strength?
That's what happens when you're playing a guy should be in high school. And he gives everything he has. Like he never has a lack of competitive fire or effort. Yeah, he's feeling better. But I think as I've watched some games, and it's only been Sunday, Monday, is where I put some games on and I've read about some things. I turned on a Marquette game and they had Iguodaro didn't play because he was sick. This guy's sick. That guy's sick. So I think one of our non-scholarship guys, Jack Seilers, has been wickedly sick. He's okay, but I mean, so I think that stuff's been going around.
When you went back and looked at the Will flagrant 2, what did you see?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it to you. It was a blind screen. So when Will turned, his arm was between the guy's legs. I can freeze frame it for you. You can see his hand through the guy's legs. And when he went to get around the screen, the guy grabbed him and held him and then flopped and acted like he punched him. Now, I asked Will what happened without telling him what I saw on the film, and it's exactly what he told me. Will would not punch somebody breaking into his own house. That's how sweet of a kid Will McClendon is. So that, but I wanted to wait until I saw it. I knew, because I know, you know your guys. Different guys react in different situations. But that was just a blind screen. When he realized his hand, when he went to get around, the guy grabbed him, held it, and flopped, which happened the entire game, by the way.
So
It's all been sent in. It's been disagreed upon. I'm always wrong.
with the
Yeah, I'm always wrong. It's amazing.
You're talking about with the conference.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
You talked about that.
Although there's video evidence, I'm absolutely wrong. So that's what I've been told.
They got back to you already?
Yeah, I'm told I was wrong on
Okay.
that play.
You talked about the,
If I was wrong on that play, I'll donate my salary to the African UNICEF Children's Fund, if I was wrong on that play. But go ahead.
you talked about how the freshmen, I guess the whole team has a great attitude.
Yep.
How much has that helped their learning and just getting better and your coachability and just the whole?
Well, I would tell you this, obviously I've been spoiled with great winning and whatever it's been, 12 or whatever straight NCAA tournaments or whatever it's been. So it's, as a competitor, it's not easy for me. But what's made the year not about that for me and it has been that we got good guys on the team. They're good kids. You good guys are around them. So, and there's a balance, right? Because I'm trying to teach them it's unacceptable to lose. But the best thing I learned, one of the many things I learned from Rick Pitino was you have to learn that there's a point of the guy's giving you everything he can, and you can't ask him for more than that, or you're just going to beat him down and he ain't going to be able to give you that. And then you have to be able to decide when a guy's not giving you everything he can. And that's, where the coaching becomes a true art form. Because you say, well, we're losing and they need to do this to win. Well, okay, the Dodgers have bad starting pitching, so they need to score 10 runs to win every game. Well, that's not realistic. So you have to be able. The art is to be able to know that point where your team's trying and they're giving you everything you can. Now, that doesn't mean you ever accept losing, but to beat the guy down when he's giving you everything he's capable of, you have to recognize when that's happening. So anyway, but their attitude's been great all year with it, and there's a push-pull with that because you don't want them to accept defeat. You never want them to accept defeat.
What could you say about the urgency level of this team given the time?
It's always been great. It's been great all year. It's been great all year. Sometimes the other team plays better because maybe they just got more firepower. I think sometimes, effort is made too much of. Again, if you have to throw a shutout to win every night, it's tough.
Coach, I know there's a downside to transfer portal NIL, but is there a certain upside that you can possibly finish your season and then immediately kind of go shopping for players that could help you next year immediately?
I think, look, the reality of where all that's at now is amazing. I think the first thing you need to do is, whenever your season's over, because we're not resigned to anything.
Sure.
I saw firsthand what Oregon State did. Getting old, was that 3 years ago? They won the conference tournament, went to the Elite Eight. But anyway, your season's over. You got to worry about your own team first. But even with that, Trace, it's a 3-week gap between the end of conference tournament and the national championship game. So you got 21 days. So even when we went to the Final Four, I was locked in a hotel room. I basically got Miles Johnson sitting in a hotel room on my phone. So, it's not like people, whether you're playing or not, doesn't mean you can or cannot recruit. Now, maybe to travel to see a kid would be the difference. And the reason, by the way, I'm glad you asked about, I appreciate you asking about Will, because I don't want him, he shouldn't be painted in a bad light. Now, I don't read the social media, okay? The kid was heartbroken about the situation, and like I said, there's zero chance that he did anything with intent, and I told you exactly what the film showed. And, you know, when you see somebody as broken as he was over what happened, and somebody that's my job to defend him, so I was extremely upset. And I would have liked to have agreed with it and maybe exonerated him. And I'm really upset that they haven't, so. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.